program that we have for you, starting with the press review. My name is Ajubuchukwu Okabu.
And my name is Nonya Nwokoye. It's the first Monday in the month of March. And this month is going to yield all its beautiful increase to us.
As we have marched into it.
Yes, we are marching into glory. Welcome to Good Morning Anambra Show. And we begin with the press review.
Glad to have you back, and as it's usual here on our flagship program, we'll begin the press review by bringing you updates on happenings on the ABS website. And the first news we have for you this morning is Soludo dedicates Son Governor of the Year award to keke drivers, petty traders, farmers, and others. Ms. Soludo extends Healthy Living Garden projects, weekly physical exercise to more council areas. Well, that's very laudable. And then we have Anambra Assembly Speaker Udeze felicitates Soludo on Sun Newspaper of the Year award. Obiano Ume Urubu Nwora, others commiserate with Willie Nwokoye as he buries mom. Tears as ABS cameraman, Honorable Berry's wife. That's on a sad note. Soludo receives commendations for transformation of Onitsha South Council area. Corps members unhappy with failure of federal government to implement 77,000 monthly allowance. And then we have Soludo receives more commendations for initiating Anambra State Geographic Information System. Also, Anambra Women Affairs and Social Welfare Ministry seeks partnership with media on gender-based issues. Super Eagle star Chukwueze scores as AC Milan lost 1-2 to Lazio, and that's in the Serie A. DRC rejects talks with M23 rebel group. Iran's economic minister Hemati impeached. That's all we have for you on ABS. Stories on ABS website, the much that we can bring to your fore. But then let's begin with
the cheery news there.
Yeah, the cheery news there, talking about our governor. When I say governor, I used to say two times, because being the CBN governor and then being the state governor of Anambra State, how often do you see that happening in this part of the world? This is just the first time a thing like that has happened, and we've seen him, collect award based on the capacity that he has put in his service to Ndi Anambra and those residing in Anambra. If you've lived in Anambra recently, you will see that there are immense changes in and around Anambra State. So it's not, the award is not far-fetched, knowing that.
There are some things this present government has done that are not even in the public notice. For instance, I was at Obaofemile on Friday for the burial of Stanley's wife, and that road, it was a very long road, was built by the state governor. And somebody was telling me that before now, that they use canoe to, there's a place you get to, then you use canoe to complete the journey. We say congratulations to Governor Soludo on this award. And of course, looking at the issue of Stanley's wife's burial, is a very pathetic one. I was there very early when they brought the corpse. And you can't imagine the sorrow in the hearts of Stanley's mom, Stanley's younger sister, and his only brother. I was like, and some people mentioned specifically that this is how we are seeing you. You know the marriage is very young. And some people have not seen the woman. They are seeing her in the corpse.
Wow, it's just so terrible, so
sad.
Terrible.
We don't wish that to anybody. And we pray that God consoles Stanley and the family.
And the family. That's on it. Oh well, corps members unhappy with failure of federal government to implement the 77,000 monthly allowance. And, well, Sincerely speaking,
It's the third month into the year 2025. I thought this would have started January.
January, but then something I don't really know. But no, we've not gotten any explanation as to the reason.
This is happening.
Yeah, the reason why this is happening, I believe, as the father, when you promise the child something based on what you feel you can do, it's always good to live up to that, so that that child would have that inclination that you are a talk and do parent. This is not really good.
You know what? Next time, when you want to promise that child something, the child will never trust you.
So it doesn't. And this one is more like what is actually due to somebody. This is not like a part.
Transportation alone will take that money in a month.
I have few friends, you understand, relatives that are couples, and I hear their pains and they complain to me. When I used to tell them that, well, lucky you guys, when I served, what I collected was what you guys food and put in your breast pocket, but you guys are collecting something that has a bundle.
But now it's not, the economy then and now, you can't compare the two. You used to buy Ogo 10 naira then, 5 naira.
Less than
then, okay. All right, let's run. Let's see the first paper for review, the Daily Times newspaper. In front of the Daily Times, we have the banner headline screaming there, Fubara announces, aftermath of Supreme Court judgment, Fubara announces a fresh polls, directs 23 LG heads of admin to hold forth. Okay. We also see stories, businessman excretes 120 wraps of cocaine at Kano Airport. Plateau National Union of Road Transport Workers threatens withdrawal of trucks from Southeast. Housewife dies in Bauchi over handling of Ramadan food. Daily Times of Nigeria welcomes new editor, Felix Onwa. And Akwa Ibom women protest sexual harassment allegation against Akpabio, demand apology. Looming protest, NLC reject electricity tariff hike, reclassification exercise. Akwa Ibom women, are they not in the news to see the video, making the rounds that their son has actually gone out to apologize to Natasha?
Yeah, maybe that's, will I say, that's a current one. Maybe this news is a little bit still to see that. But at the same time...
What is it, a daily?
Yeah, but at the same time, people are, I wouldn't say compelled. People are at liberty to stand for what they believe, to show solidarity for a cause that they duly believe. So if Akwa Ibom women, in all their unison and in their wisdom, could come up and, vouch for a man that they don't live with, they don't serve any daily run-ins with in public, then something is definitely wrong with those kind of gatherings. You don't stick your neck out, you understand, for people like that. So that's a different story altogether for the Akwa Ibom women. But then let's get to the next paper for review this morning, and that's the Vanguard newspaper. And then we have the banner headline still talking about the anxiety in Rivers State as Fubara begins implementation. And we have some riders here, and then agrees to conduct fresh local government poll, directs council chairman to hand over to heads of local government administration today. Fubara, Wike political class should find middle ground. South-South leaders, that's coming from South-South leaders, we have caution that Supreme Court's judgment should not be compromised. That's Rivers Elders Council. And then we have here, further hike in electricity tariff will be resisted. That's coming from the NLC. Ramadan, can Naptan fume over closure of schools. Then we have the 2026 World Cup qualifier, Rwanda plots Super Eagles fall. And then we have our financial Vanguard here, why exchange rate stability is not sustainable, and that's coming from experts. Why federal government insists contractors move to site before mobilization, that's coming from the Minister Umai. Lagos Assembly crisis, we have Obasa taken. And then we have State of the Nation, Nigeria flowing with tears, blood. That's coming from the Anglican Church, Baptist Church to Tinubu. Nigerians are starving. Wow.
Act now.
Act now. How Nigeria maltreated Igbo for decades. That's coming from Okwestileze Nwodo. Crisis in opposition parties sponsored by federal government. That's really, really deep and interesting there. Quickly, let's see what we have on the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper goes, government agencies brainstorm as direct payment suffers setback. That's talking about the local government autonomy. That's the banner headline there. And then we have ATM loaded with cash as 100 withdrawal fee begins. How buyers will get 65-liter refund, Dangote refinery. And then we have footballer dismisses impeachment rumor, Rivers elders caution federal government. That's all we have for you here.
All right, let's see this story coming from the Vanguard that there is further hike in electricity tariff will be resisted coming from the NLC. This is not the first time we're hearing NLC, backing and, shouting on the rooftops that we're going to resist this with everything, at the end of the day, what happens,
Nothing.
And I've had people call them toothless bulldog or whatever.
Is there a case of people hearing people call them? It's out there. It's
that's the name. That's the name they are given, by Nigerians. They should know that. And this is not the first time they are even at the time they planned protests. Maybe if some few minutes for the protest to begin, they will shelve. I don't know what actually is going on with this particular leadership of the NLC.
A whole lot. I won't be surprised like the story that we are hearing here from Nwodo telling us how compromised opposition is, that the federal government is actually the ones sponsoring opposition. So, sincerely speaking, when I mean opposition, I mean the fracas in the opposition, other political parties. But that story.
All right, I don't know whether you've gone to the ATM to confirm that the cash is there recently, owing that Saturday was first. Saturday was 1st March, commencement of the, the CBN rules or whatever. Yeah. That when you use your bank ATM, I think zero charge.
Yeah, zero
but
charge.
you use your ATM on another bank,
100
naira. Then
charge.
you go to POS, there's another charge for you. So it has commenced in earnest. So Nigerians should be aware of what actually is going on. All right, let's move on now to the next paper for review, which is the Daily Independent newspaper. In front of that paper, we see this quiet in Rivers over Supreme Court ruling, with riders there, youth leaders reject Apex Court's verdict. PANDEF seeks review of decision on allocation. Benue lawmaker Abese replies ex-governor Bafarawa. Pharmacists applaud NAFDAC's crackdown on fake drugs. With a rider there, urges swift action on health sector reforms. Rename Luth after Beko ransom Kuti CDHR. Kako tell Tinubu, President Tinubu's bold maritime vision. NNPC's a landmark joint venture transforms Nigeria's energy logistics. Now, Benue CJ's sack. Lawmakers acted beyond their powers. That's coming from lawyers. Then on the Nation newspaper, is a happy birthday. Pastor Adeboye serves as living proof of God's presence in sustainable wealth creation. Okay, for Bara, I will obey Supreme Court judgment. Governors ask council chairman to hand over vacate office. Okay, that's what we need in this country, obedience to the law court. Laws are meant to be obeyed. If you don't obey laws, I wonder the kind of nation that will be, which is, we see it often in this nation.
Of course.
There will be court order to do certain things. And some people, maybe too big to be touched, will stand their ground. refusing what. For an example is when there is a law order to release Nnamdi on bail, and it's still there till date.
Yeah, like somebody rightly said some time ago that the best form of people that you need to even be in the corridors of power are people that have that, well, I say, the tendency to obey existing laws, irrespective of your status or your cadre or even education qualification. Because the more educated you are should even give you that impetus, that training over time to know that there are standard rules, you understand, guarding every organization, you understand, and that you
that's
need to,
checks and balances, and when it's not in place, we're in big trouble.
Then if you now take it to Christianity, churches and the rest of it all, it is even stated there in the Bible, if you don't respect the law of the land, then what is the sense of respecting God's own law?
Even praying for your leaders.
You understand, exactly. So you're not in heaven yet, but you're finding it difficult to obey the laws on earth, and you want to get
you want to go to
you want to go
which
to heaven.
heaven are you going?
So which heaven are you going? So everything has to be on point. Obey as a politician, as somebody that is in the public domain, you understand, the public figure. Courtesy demands that if you know the right thing, you do it. As little as obeying traffic lights.
You know this issue of obedience to law and order is one of the biggest problems we have in this country. You know, from the family. The family is the primary place of socialization.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
And there are checks you put in place for your children. So those children equally look up to you. So peradventure you're a political office holder and there is a particular law you're meant to obey, you don't obey it, but you come back to tell them to obey what you're giving them. So it becomes it's a ripple effect.
Yeah, it becomes counterproductive.
Because when you don't obey the law, you don't expect others to obey the ones you put in place. You know. All right.
Quickly, let's go to the next paper for review this morning, and that's the Guardian newspaper. 2025 budget bloated 41 trillion naira revenue target talks fresh fiscal deficit concern. Then we have IBB June 12 account too little too late. That's an editorial there on page 16. June 12, Olanipekun berates Babangida for not apologizing to Abiola family and Nigerians. ACF calls for probe over Akpabio Akpoti Oduaha's face-off. Betrayal, politics stall 2014 confab report implementation, says Jonathan. House moves against oil firms owing federal government 9.4 trillion royalties and other charges. You can't play God, Wike tells Fubara, as governors pledges obedience to Supreme Court rulings. Dangote absorbs 16 billion marketers loss from price reduction. And then we have the 2025 budget overview, expenditure 54.99 trillion, deficit 13.39 trillion, crude production target 2.06 million barrels per day, revenue target 40.9 trillion, debt service 14.32 trillion, exchange rates 1,500 naira. Wow, that's interesting to see how feasible that is going to be achieved. And quickly, let's see what we have on the blueprint newspaper this Monday morning. And the banner headline is still talking Akpabio Natasha feud. Senate tackles Saraki, vows not to reward falsehood. And then we have what we have. What we have is personal, unsubstantial claims. That's Deputy Whip. AFC backs probe. Akwa Ibom youth won. Dangote to refund customers who purchase PMS above advertised rate. That's interesting. NLC threatens protest over telecoms electricity tariff hikes. Malls rebranding measure of Labour Party with like minds. And that's what we have for you on the blueprint. And last but not the least, if I'm correct, okay, that's not. We have the Tribune, the Nigerian Tribune next. Fubara to implement Supreme Court verdicts, orders local government chairmen to hand over. That you find on page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune. Asks heads of local government areas to take over council administration. Dangote, we've seen that. NLC threatens mass action over telecoms electricity tariff hike. Alleged sexual harassment. We have no petition against Akpabio. That's coming from the Senate. Media aid fault Saraki. And then did I get that? Why I didn't implement 2014 confab recommendations. That's coming from ex-president Jonathan. And then the writer says, pays condolence visits to Ayo Adebanjo's family. Atiku during visit says Adebanjo's death a monumental loss to Nigeria. New ATM fees, customers groan as banks begin implementation. Direct CBN to suspend ATM fee hike pending court verdict. Serap tells Tinubu.
You know, I'm so interested about this story here. House moves against oil firms owing federal government 9.4 trillion royalties, other charges. You know, during our news this morning, it was said that these charges are supposed to be paid within 30 days. But this, what we are seeing here is that since 2021 or 2022, that this has been owed. And it falls back to what we are talking earlier about obeying the laws of the land. It's in the, according to the news, it's in the law of the House of Representatives that when these things are done, you pay back within 30 days. But this is more than 2 years or 3 years and nothing was paid. And one begins to ask a lot of questions. You know, who is supposed to be there, you know, to ensure that these people pays back what they are owing? And you allow that to elapse for this long. Questions should be answered. You know, people should be punished for doing things that are contrary to the laid down procedures. Yeah. There are procedures to these things. When you borrow, you pay back within 30 days, but you allowed it to elapse till 2 years plus.
I think there should be a massive, thorough investigation in Nigerian oil sector in the past 40 years. There is a whole lot that has really gone down there, and you know, lack of accountability from successive, you know, GMDs and the rest of it. Nothing seems to be.
I will always talk about native. What are they doing? Transparency Initiative, whatever. What are they doing? What are their responsibilities? There are so many offices in this nation that are linked with the accountability that are supposed to be in charge of people, bringing people to book to ensure that they are accountable. What are they doing? What have they done?
That's why we say some of these offices need to be merged in order to reduce all these bloated budgets we do have, you know. There are a whole lot that we need to checkmate. If oil is our mainstay, and it has also been, how come there is no proper accountability in what happens there? Do you know how much 9.3 trillion is? That's a whole lot that can take care of a lot of infrastructure that are non-existent in this part of the world. And
honestly,
you begin to wonder. Now then, let's take the last paper for review this morning.
Okay,
and
the
that's
Daily Trust
the Daily Trust newspaper.
Okay, in front of the Daily Trust, we have protest in Jos over killing of truck drivers in Southeast. 20 killed, many vehicles burnt in 1 year. My slain brother left behind 12 children. NURTW 6 probe, police mom. And the bandits abduct 4 varsity students in Katsina. Natasha versus Akpabio, ACF demands probe, Senate rules out impeachment. Sakin Sasa dies at 125, marking day others mourn. Massive job losses in Nigeria over USAID's funding freeze. And of course, okay, that's just about it in front of the Daily Trust newspaper. I don't know, this protest in Jos, and you can imagine the killings. 20 killed, many vehicles burnt in 1 year. I don't know.
And police seems to be silent on that issue there. It's really, really pathetic. Then you now see where last week we talked about 4 students abducted in Benue State, and now we are seeing 4 students abducted again
In
in
Katsina.
Katsina. And is this reoccurring abduction, kidnapping, and the rest of it? Does it mean that our House of Members, the Senate, even though they are, you understand, embroiled in the Natasha Akpabio saga, is there nothing that can be done? Can they call the police, the service chiefs, and all these people to order, ask them, who is actually safe in this country, sincerely speaking? Because these abductions are not happening, they are happening on the streets, they are happening in broad daylight in certain cases.
You know, truth be told, concerning Nigeria and all what has been going on in this nation, you can see a lot of institutions are not actually living up to their responsibility. Because if it were to be in a saner climate, when something happens, you know, you must get a feedback. What happens? Did they actually, okay, like in Benue case that people saw last week, the students were abducted. How far? Do you understand? That kind of follow-up on the report. What has happened so far with the students? Were they found alive or dead? Were ransomed paid? Were the kidnappers caught and all whatnot? And you see things working out. Nigeria is bigger than what we are seeing. We should rise to the challenge of things happening and everybody is holding their hands. If it doesn't touch you today, who knows who is going to touch tomorrow? You may be there, you know, as a high-profile politician, your children are not in the country, nothing is happening. All these things breeding may affect them tomorrow because they may decide to come back tomorrow. Who knows what they're going to meet on ground when they return?
Well, let's pick one other story there from the Nigerian Tribune. Why I didn't implement the 2014 confab recommendations. That's coming from Jonathan.
It's like they are doing confession this last time. Tolling the path of Babangida in what happened last 2 weeks.
But
during his launch,
yeah.
the book launch.
When Babangida has come out to tell us that irrespective of the fact that you're a military man, you probably should stand for what you believe, but then you could still be a chicken wearing a uniform. Because if you know what is right, you should have stood by what is right, and now not lay the blame on a dead man, talking about Abacha being responsible and the rest of it all. So now, Jonathan coming to tell us that there were confab that we did, and then you failed. You're not telling us 11 years after why you didn't, and you had the power to do that. Does it mean that you were a puppet president?
That's exactly what's behind.
You understand?
You were in power.
You were in power.
When you
so now, does it mean does it mean you were a puppet? If the confab were to liberate us, and probably the outcome of that confab, if implemented, we wouldn't have nosedived economically, security-wise, and otherwise educationally into where we are right now. Probably we would have started on a recovery note based on the confab, because we all know what the idea of the confab was, and people were coming up to say that it was laudable. Let us see the good sides that we can adopt and immediately implement and put into action. But none of that was done. And you're coming 11 years after to tell us why. And now, the reason now, does it cut the mustard seed? Is it going to save us, bail us from the situation that we...
What was said last week concerning, possibility of them coming out after 30-something years again to tell us that actually P2B won the last... Most
is very, very...
Let's look at the pharmacists, applauding NAFDAC for actually cracking down on fake drugs. This market has been closed down for close to 1 month now. And I learned last week, I saw it in the news, that the market will be reopened in 10 days' time. And there's been controversies here and there, people talking that they should have left the market open because not everybody in the market trades on fake drugs. That they are supposed to be there.
So why punish even the people that are not even prepared?
That's the thing. I don't know how they did it or how they managed to close down the shop for
But
both the is that what actually happened to these market people?
exactly, that was what happened, and it's a two-way thing because you need to check it on the other side too. Now, if you're not into fake drugs, I'm sure you know those within the market that are actually doing the state. But nobody wants to go whistleblowing on his fellow business person. So you all are now suffering collectively. And some of these people that are into fake drugs probably have stash of money they are using to, get their day-to-day activities going. But
I think this should serve as an example.
You that you're a legitimate businessman, that you don't have any other source of income. 1 month, your shop has been under lock and key. How then do you survive and the rest of it all? So these are where we begin
it should have served as an example.
That's what I'm saying.
That when you see
whistle blow next time.
But the problem now is when you whistle blow, how sure are you that you're safe? That's another thing. How safe are you when you whistle blow?
Because sincerely speaking, in an open place where you guys trade, I'm sure if you've been in that market for a period of time, you will know the people that are into.
There is no doubt about that. They should know.
They should know. So you coming up, because I read in one story that some people say that why are some of us being punished for the sins of the few? Now you knew the sins of these few and you never raised an alarm, you never did anything. And now it has now happened. They've closed the entire market. Everybody is now sitting at home and the rest of it all. And you are complaining that
there's another question to this. These drugs were cleared.
Exactly.
It came into the country through borders.
I hope while the market will be open, we'll be hearing that so people, their shops have been permanently closed. And that they are probably going to face they are going to court to face the panel. NAFDAC, they will need to explain to NAFDAC and farmers, PSN, how they got these drugs. Like the anti-retroviral
we have the standard organization.
Exactly. So there are a whole lot of investigation.
We have the custom officers that are in various borders in the Society of Nigeria. That's what I said earlier. There are so many offices, so many bodies that are supposed to checkmate a lot of things in this nation. What actually are they doing? Are they really living up to their responsibility? That's a very big question, Okay, I don't know if we have any other story to look at before we wrap up the press review for this morning. Any other story?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
I was wanting the renaming of Lut after Beck or Ransom Kuti.
Okay.
And people will begin to wonder, well, he was one time Minister for Health, you understand, under the military regime, you understand, and then the question is, what are the criteria that such an edifice, you understand, will be named after an individual? So these are the things that we need to put into consideration and then begin to know if it's actually necessary to go that route. Now, talking about what the banner headline on the Guardian newspaper, bloated 41.3 revenue target stokes fresh fiscal deficit concern. Now, when we were talking about the addition to the Nigerian budget for 2025 as that addition that made it to 54.93 trillion as the case may be. And people have not really told us in detailed categorization where and what that addition. They just gave it a broad name and going to the military, there was no detailed breakdown. And it's like a businessman collecting money, a loan from the bank, and you're not specific about what you want to use this loan for. Repaying that loan would definitely be difficult.
The truth about budgeting in our nation is that, I don't know, when we budget for something, that the amount should be used specifically for what it is meant for. And of course, at the end of the budget, each establishment or each parastatal is supposed to come and give account of how you used the previous budget before another budget will be made. But you see our situation in this nation, there's no accountability. So things will continue to be done the way it is being done until maybe one day God will show us mercy by raising men and women of integrity to be at a particular position.
Yeah, and I probably have a system that works whereby the implementation of the good, notable policies will definitely have the impact where the Nigerian masses will definitely benefit from all of these things. Now, still talking about the budget on the this thing, we have a deficit of 13.39 trillion naira, and expected revenue generation of 40.9 trillion naira. And now they're asking, like the banner headline say, how can this actually be achieved? Most agriculturally, we are not exporting enough to add to boosting this economy. Then the business policies of the present
in
administration.
agriculture, presently we have a very serious issue where farmers header clashes, and you think about the one we'll consume in this nation, not to talk about the one we'll export. So I think the problem, or we should start looking at what is happening in our farms, because when the farming is nothing is happening in the farming system, what are we going to export? Nothing, of course.
But last week, before the Ramadan, in one of the dailies, which was said that there were going to be, the reason why the prices of food have dropped in the market was because of the Ramadan, the government thought it wise to allow some flexible importations in order to reduce the price of goods.
Did you go to the market in Oka to know that it has dropped?
So that
which price dropped?
So that people can have access to buying, the stable foods they need in order to
celebrate Ramadan. Then after Ramadan, we go back to start.
Exactly. So the question we asked was that, so why wouldn't there be importation during Christmas and Easter? Why would it just be for the Ramadan period? So it should go across, but even though I don't support importation per se, because it will kill our local content. Because
you will have local content before you stop importation.
What you should be doing is trying to see how you can end insecurity in the food basket of the nation, and then connect these agrarian communities with better routes, so that once those products comes out, they have easy access. You understand?
To reach out
to the urban centers. Not when you now want to go to maybe Boko or Benue State to go and buy yam. Who's Adro?
And sometimes some will buy and the chop will fall on the road because of bad roads.
There are a lot of things that we need to figure out here in order to be food sufficient. I remember when Obasanjo was president, and then he gave some Zimbabwean farmers, you understand, a piece of land in Kwara State or thereabouts, with government of the Kwara State then. And the people now came and said that Kwara State alone is big enough to feed West Africa. Just a state in Kwara. That if we harness our agricultural produce in this part of, that's Zimbabwean farmers coming to Nigeria.
I'm not doubting it, because Nigeria is a great nation. And we have great people. We have what it takes. But our problem, some people will tell you our problem is governance. But I think it's a general thing, because when the governors or the leaders are not leading well, the followers are not even will not follow well too, and the problem keeps multiplying by the day. So when you talk about Nigeria producing what we feed South Africa or West Africa, that's a part of Kwara. Nigeria, I won't doubt it, because we have all it takes. We have good land, we have good climate, good weather. So we have all it takes to produce what will feed the whole world even.
Well, local government autonomy, while the coppers are busy crying that they've not gotten their 77,000 allowance, monthly allowance, local government agencies brainstorm as direct payment suffers setback.
I think it's important at this point for those in positions of authority to look down on these coppers with some pity. When you think about the transportation, the feeding, what is 77,000 naira, for goodness sake? What is 77,000? Think of you as an individual, what you eat in a day. One meal, 2,000 naira cannot give you a meal that will be filling. You need like 3,000 to eat to your fill these days. So 3,000 naira, multiply it in a month. What would that 77,000 do for some? I think we plead with those in positions of authority. Since you have said you're going to give them this money, please give them now. You know, the young chaps are crying actually that they need this money, and actually they need it.
They need it
To take care of themselves.
I was expecting.
And lessen the burden of their parents too, because parents will keep sending money to them.
Because these children will still come out after the 1 year service and still be, truncating from Yenogba to Yobo State, all in search of job. So this leads to the ones that can save. Let them see if they can actually save something and then come out and be meaningful to themselves and the rest of it. So that's the much we have for you, and that's the dailies. Yeah, let's get to what Olani Pekun is talking about, still on the Guardian newspaper, where he berates Babangida and asking for, saying that Babangida should have apologized to Nigerians and to the Abiola family for the annulment of June 12th, and then, you know, precursor to that.
Apologize when he said is Abacha that annulled the election.
No, the fact that you were president, you understand. So, in one of the papers, they even said that his act was treasonable. That
if he had accepted that he did it, that is when you start saying that he should apologize. His mind is telling him that he's not the one that did it. He actually said it's Abacha. So maybe we should go and wake Abacha from the grave to come and apologize. I think at this point we have to wrap up the show. You know, we've really come a long way talking about what is going on in our nation. You know, you can go to any newspaper stand or go online to read details of these stories and more, you know, as we wrap up this morning.
Well, I still remain at Chuku Okabwe. Up next is the discussion segment. And stay tuned because we have something that actually pertains to you. Don't go anywhere. The show continues after this.